I've been covering celebrity interviews for over a decade, and I can honestly say I've never seen anything like what Tom Holland did last night. He walked onto the Late Show set, sat down across from Stephen Colbert, and within 1 minute destroyed the entire facade of happy celebrity culture. When Colbert opened with his usual spoiler material, Tom didn't play along. Instead, he looked directly into the camera and revealed something that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. He suffers from panic attacks before every interview, specifically because of hosts who treat his enthusiasm like a joke. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or cry. Colbert literally froze mid-sentence. And Tom? He kept going, exposing years of anxiety, therapy, and Marvel's threats to replace him. By the time he stood up and walked off that set, social media was already exploding. Hit subscribe because this is the interview that's going to change late-night television forever. First of all, don't forget to like and subscribe to our video, and don't forget to write to us where you watch this video. The Late Show theme music played as the audience erupted in applause. Stephen Colbert sat behind his curved wooden desk, adjusting his Barton Pereira glasses, his navy suit and red tie perfectly pressed. The Ed Sullivan Theater's stained glass panels glowed with blue and purple lighting. "Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest needs no introduction," Colbert began. He swung through New York as Spider-Man in 6 Marvel films, and his new movie, Spider-Man: Brand New Day, hits theaters next summer. Please welcome the always entertaining, sometimes spoiler-prone, Tom Holland. Tom walked out wearing a tailored navy suit with a white shirt, no tie, top button undone. His wavy brown hair was styled in that signature, messy side part. At 28, he still looked boyish as he waved and settled into the guest chair. "Tom, great to have you here, mate," Colbert said warmly. "Thanks for having me, Stephen," Tom replied with his British accent. "So, Spider-Man: Brand New Day. That new suit looks incredible. What can you tell us?" Tom's smile was practiced. "Well, you know I can't say much. Marvel has me under lock and key, but I can tell you it's the most emotionally complex Peter Parker story we've told yet." Right, Colbert interrupted with a grin. "But before we get into that, I have to address the elephant in the room. Tom Holland. Spoilers. The two things are basically synonymous at this point." The audience laughed. Tom's smile tightened. "I've gotten better, I promise," Tom said lightly. "Have you, though?" Colbert pressed. "You accidentally revealed Spider-Man was in Civil War. You spoiled Infinity War's ending on Instagram. Didn't you bring the entire Endgame script to an interview?" More laughter. Tom's smile was still there, but something in his eyes had changed. "Those were learning experiences," Tom said carefully. "Marvel must love you," Colbert chuckled. And that's when it happened. Tom's smile evaporated. He went completely still, his eyes locked on Colbert with an intensity that made the host's grin falter. The audience sensed the shift. The laughter died. "Tom?" Colbert asked uncertainly. "You okay?" For 15 uncomfortable seconds, Tom didn't respond. He just stared. The audience shifted. Crew members exchanged worried glances. When Tom finally spoke, his voice was different. Calm, cold, precise. "Did you know that I can't do interviews anymore without having panic attacks?" The words hung in the air like a bomb. Colbert's smile froze. "What?" Colbert managed. "Panic attacks?" Tom repeated. "Before every single interview for the past 3 years. My therapist calls it interview-induced anxiety disorder. Do you know what triggers it, Stephen?" Colbert opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "It's people like you," Tom continued, his voice steady but cutting. "Hosts who think my genuine enthusiasm is funny, who turn my mistakes into a brand, who make me the butt of the joke over and over." The audience was dead silent. This wasn't part of the show. "Tom, I didn't mean," Colbert started. "Did you know that Marvel threatened to fire me?" Tom interrupted. 3 separate times, because of interviews like this. Because hosts kept pushing me to say things I shouldn't, and when I did, it became my fault. Tom Holland, the guy who can't keep his mouth shut. Colbert's face shifted, from confident to genuinely concerned. I think maybe we should— No, Tom said firmly. We're not moving on, because I've been doing this for 9 years, Stephen. 9 years of being your punchline, and I'm done. Tom leaned forward, his eyes never leaving Colbert's face. Let me tell you what those 9 years have been like. Every interview, I walk in terrified. My heart is racing. My hands are shaking. I've taken Xanax before appearances because I'm so afraid I'll say something wrong and become a meme again. Do you think that's funny, Stephen? Tom, I never meant to. Yes, you did, Tom cut him off. That's exactly what you meant to do. You meant to get a laugh at my expense. The always entertaining, sometimes spoiler-prone Tom Holland. That's how you introduced me. Not as an actor, not for my work, but as the guy who screws up. Colbert tried to regain control. I think you're taking this a bit personally. How else should I take it? You just spent 2 minutes mocking my biggest insecurity in front of millions of people. For entertainment. The audience looked sympathetic and uncomfortable. No one was laughing. The spoiler thing is part of your public persona, Colbert said reasonably. Fans love it. It's not endearing to me, Tom interrupted. It's humiliating. Do you know what it's like to have your biggest professional mistakes replayed in front of you over and over by people who are supposed to be giving you a platform to discuss your work? Tom stood up slowly, and Colbert instinctively leaned back. I want to tell you something I've never said publicly, Tom said, emotion breaking through. After the Infinity War spoiler incident, I had a breakdown, a real one. I called my parents crying because I thought my career was over. I thought Marvel was going to sue me. The audience gasped. And you know what made it worse? Watching clips of myself on talk shows with hosts laughing about it, making jokes. Jimmy Kimmel did a whole sketch about it. Jimmy Fallon made a game out of it. And you, Stephen, you've brought it up in almost every interview we've done. Colbert was struggling. Tom, if I'd known. You should have known, Tom said sharply. That's the point. You should have asked yourself, is this okay? Is it okay to keep making someone relive their worst moments for a laugh? But you didn't, did you? Because my feelings didn't matter as much as your content. Colbert stood up, trying to salvage the situation. The spoiler jokes were never meant to be cruel. They were lazy, Tom interrupted. Lazy comedy at my expense. Instead of asking me about my process, about working with incredible directors, about the stunts, you went for the easy joke, the one everyone's heard 1,000 times. That's not fair, Colbert protested. I've always been supportive of your work. Have you? Because I don't feel supported. I feel like a circus act. The audience was transfixed. This was uncomfortable truth. I came here tonight to talk about a film I'm incredibly proud of, Tom said steadily, where I did my own stunts, worked with talented people, explored Peter Parker's psychology in new ways. And your first question was about spoilers, not about the work, about my mistakes. Colbert's mask was cracking. The audience wants to hear about all aspects. You decide what questions get asked. You chose to make this about spoilers instead of the film. That was your decision. Own it. I understand you're sensitive about this, Colbert said with frustration creeping in. Sensitive, Tom repeated, laughing without humor. When I express that something hurts me, I'm being sensitive. But when you make jokes at my expense, that's entertainment. I'm not trying to hurt you, Colbert insisted. But you are hurting me. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And instead of hearing that, instead of apologizing, you're defending yourself. You're making this about your intentions instead of my experience. The energy had shifted completely. This was an intervention. My therapist told me I needed to start setting boundaries, Tom said quietly. That I needed to tell people when they're crossing a line. And I've been too afraid because I didn't want to seem difficult. But you know what? I'd rather be difficult than keep letting people treat me like this. Colbert tried a different approach. Tom, maybe we should take a breath. I've been taking breaths for 9 years, Tom said. Every time someone made a spoiler joke, Every time I smiled through an interview that made me feel like garbage. I'm done taking breaths. I'm done pretending this is okay. You know why Marvel threatened to fire me? Tom continued, emotion fully breaking through. It wasn't just the spoilers. It was because hosts like you kept asking leading questions, trying to get me to slip up. Trying to get your viral moment. And when I did slip up, it became my fault. Not yours for asking inappropriate questions, mine. I have never tried to trick you, Colbert defended. Really? I remember being on this show for Far From Home, and you asked me directly about Mysterio's role. When I hesitated, you said, "Come on, you can tell us." And when I did, it became a whole thing. Marvel's PR had to do damage control. Was that not you trying to get me to slip up? Colbert's face reddened. That's taken out of context. Is it? You specifically asked me something you knew I shouldn't answer, and when I did, it became another Tom Holland spoils movies moment. But you never got blamed for asking the question. I got blamed for answering it. This is ridiculous, Colbert said, frustration fully visible. You're acting like I personally attacked you, when all I did was make a joke you've heard 100 times. That's exactly the problem. Tom's voice rose. I've heard it 100 times, and every single time it hurts. But everyone keeps doing it because apparently my feelings matter less than getting a cheap laugh. The audience was riveted. You're supposed to be one of the good ones, Tom continued, voice shaking. Jon Stewart's protege, the smart, empathetic host. But right now, you're just like every other late-night host who treats actors like content machines instead of human beings. Colbert looked genuinely stung. That's not who I am. Then prove it, Tom challenged. Apologize. Actually apologize, not for hurting my feelings, but for making a choice to open this interview with spoiler jokes instead of talking about my work. The silence was deafening. Colbert stood there, wrestling with himself. The show has a format, Colbert started. You choose, Tom interrupted. Every question, every joke, those are your choices. And you chose to hurt me. Own that. Tom reached for his microphone. Wait, Colbert said quickly, panic in his voice. Let's reset. We can start over. Start over? Tom looked incredulous. Stephen, you can't reset after showing me exactly who you are. You can't unsay what you said. I made a mistake, Colbert admitted through gritted teeth. No, you made a choice. There's a difference. A mistake is accidental. You deliberately decided that spoiler jokes were more important than respecting your guest. Nobody knew whether to cut to commercial or keep filming. You want to know the really sad part? Tom asked quietly. I actually prepared for this interview. I had stories about working with Jon Bernthal as Punisher, about the new dynamic with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, about how this film explores Peter's isolation in profound ways. I was excited to share all of that, and instead, I got spoiler jokes. We can still talk about all of that, Colbert tried. The interview doesn't have to end like this. Tom shook his head slowly. Yes, it does. Because if I stay, I'm telling you it's okay to treat me like this, that I'll just smile and play along. And I can't do that anymore. I won't. You're making a scene over one joke, Colbert said with an edge. One joke? Stephen, you spent 3 minutes on spoilers. Your introduction was about spoilers, and you've been doing this for 9 years. So no, this isn't about one joke. This is about a pattern of behavior I'm finally standing up to. He unhooked his microphone. This is career suicide, Colbert said, almost like a threat. Tom smiled sadly. You think walking off your show will hurt my career more than Marvel's highest-grossing franchise? I just filmed with Christopher Nolan. I'm executive producing projects. I'm engaged to Zendaya. I'll be fine. He set the microphone on the chair. The question isn't whether I'll be fine. The question is whether you will. Because this interview is going to be everywhere tomorrow. And people will see me asking for basic respect. And they'll see you refusing to give it. Colbert's face went through rapid emotions. Anger, embarrassment, defiance. You're being ungrateful. This is The Late Show. Millions would kill for this platform. And I'm supposed to be grateful for being humiliated on that platform? Tom asked. That's your argument? I've given you exposure. I don't need exposure from you, Tom said firmly. I need respect from you. And since you can't give me that, I'm leaving. As he turned, Colbert couldn't help himself. You're too sensitive. That's been your problem all along. Tom stopped, turned back. His voice was ice. My problem? My problem is that I'm a human being who doesn't like being mocked. And your problem is that you've done this job so long, you've forgotten your guests are human beings. You've forgotten that people in that chair have feelings, have struggles, have breaking points. And when someone tells you you've crossed a line, your response is to call them sensitive. He took a step closer. Being sensitive means I care about my work deeply. It means I feel things fully. And I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not letting you make sensitive sound like an insult when it's actually one of my strengths as an actor. And here's what really bothers me, Tom continued, gaining strength. You sit behind that desk every night and talk about empathy, about treating people with dignity. You interview activists and authors who fight for human rights. And then you treat your celebrity guests like they're not worthy of that same dignity. Like because we're actors, we deserve to be made fun of. That's not, Colbert tried. It is, Tom insisted. You have two standards, one for people you respect and one for people you see as entertainment. And I'm tired of being in that second category. Tom looked directly at the camera. To everyone watching at home, he said clearly, the next time you see a celebrity fail on a talk show, ask yourself, did they really fail? Or did the host set them up to fail? The next time you see a viral clip of someone getting embarrassed, ask, is this entertainment? Or is this just cruelty with a laugh track? He looked back at Colbert. That's what you're selling, Stephen. Cruelty with a laugh track. You dress it up as comedy, but it's still cruelty. And I'm not going to help you sell it anymore. Colbert's face was red, composure shattered. Get off my set. I'm already leaving, Tom replied calmly. But before I go, to every young actor watching this, every person starting out in this industry, don't let them do this to you. Don't let hosts make you feel like you have to laugh at jokes that hurt you. Stand up for yourself, even when it's scary. Tom walked toward the exit, head held high. You're going to regret this, Colbert called after him. Tom paused. You know what, Stephen? I don't think I will. For the first time in 9 years, I actually feel good about how I handled an interview. I told the truth. I stood up for myself. That's not something to regret. That's something to be proud of. He looked at the audience. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm sorry you had to witness this, but I'm not sorry I did it. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is say enough. And with that, Tom Holland walked off the Late Show set, leaving behind a stunned audience, a humiliated host, and what would become the most talked about moment in late-night television history. Colbert stood there, hands shaking slightly. Finally, he forced a hollow laugh. Well, I guess we're going to commercial early tonight. But everyone knew it was too late. The damage was done. The mask had slipped. And nothing would ever be quite the same. So there you have it. The complete breakdown of how Tom Holland walked off The Late Show after one of the most explosive confrontations in late-night history. What started as typical promotion turned into a watershed moment about mental health, boundaries, and the toxic culture of celebrity interviews. Within hours, #IStandWithTom was trending worldwide. Mental health advocates praised his courage. Fellow actors shared their own stories of interview trauma. And Stephen Colbert, he issued a public apology the next day, but by then, the internet had already made up its mind. Was Tom right to walk off, or should he have handled it differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe for more celebrity interview breakdowns, and let me know what other confrontations you'd like covered. Because sometimes the most important moments happen when celebrities stop playing it safe and start speaking their truth.